Muchoki, Happy New Year. Welcome to the K24 Crystal Ball. Like we told you, we're going around talking to different experts regarding their field of expertise. To you, it's all about matters education. Lost academic year 2020, we're coming into 2021, and the workload for both teachers and students quite, Herculean when you look at it. And very many parents were apprehensive. What happens with COVID-19 and the children back in school? What's your assessment of this as we get, into the year proper and go until December with this academic year?
Hey Jeff, happy 2021, and I'm saying that with fingers crossed. No, I don't even know how to start from. One, kids are back in school for a very hectic four-term, unprecedented year. And the first thing I expect to see, obviously, is spikes in COVID infection, which will probably affect the adults more than they affect the kids, because COVID is just nice to children, which means teachers will get infected. And that for me is a concern, because it takes quite a while to actually produce a teacher, and a good one at that. Last year when they went back in the partial opening, within about a month, we had a number of teachers dead, 35 infections. And that is my major concern, given that there seems to be little preparation in terms of sanitation in most schools. And I say this because I know my children are going to public school, and I've seen the conditions under which they are going to school. There's no social distancing, to be honest. But that is as it is. So we are in an must go back to normal life situation. COVID is here to stay for a while. But I expect to see spikes in COVID infection, especially among the teachers.
There's been talk of when the vaccine does arrive in the country, right at the front of those who will be getting the first doses, teachers will be there because of the nature of their work.
Yes.
Does that make you feel a bit more optimistic with how they'll have to dispense their duties in school?
I am half about it. Big on the front line, excuse me, also means that you're the guinea pig. So if something were to go wrong, that means they would be the first people that would notice that this vaccine is not working with. I would prefer it had been tested for longer, while understanding the need for it does not negate what could be dangerous about it. So again, I tend to be a very, some people say snarky, but I'm a realist. These vaccines have come out pretty fast. It's been unprecedented. They haven't been tested. So we'll see how it goes.
Okay.
And hope not at the expense of lives.
Right. And even as you look at that, there's also the talk of CBC, because they're saying, okay, fine, 844 had a lot of problems in there, very results-oriented, but there's more to life. There are talents that you could find outside of the classroom. How do you see that faring in 2021?
Pet peeve. You just raised my pet peeve. I have looked through the CBC program. What it's actually done, it's that it has gone back to how I learned 844. I did music, I did art, I was taught how to wash dishes in school, I was taught how to plant things in school. I was under the 844 system. The younger generation did this 844 system, but not the same 844 system. As they went back, it became about the A and about the 400s, right? So a cheating culture came in. So CBC is actually, we're going back to what was supposed to be. Right? But here's the problem again. It's very online. It's very phone-oriented. It's very parent invested. We have a lot of... It's good and bad in that the parents were not prepared. Like I said, I was prepared for it. I can help my children in online work. Why? Because I'm a teacher. I have the privilege of having been educated. But I'm a Mamboga, even in Nairobi. One, may not have the time because she's surviving. Two, she does not have the capacity to do it. So these are problems that we should not be dealing with during a crisis. So that's one of the problems with CBC. I was dealing with a school that is in Kitui, and it's dealing with AIDS orphans, and most of the caregivers are grandparents. So when you give homework for CBC kids, the grandparents can't help because, I don't know, they're illiterate, can't read English. These are the things that were not thought out during the CBC. Yes, that 80% literally are not trained for this manner of learning.
Right.
Yes.
If you were to give the CBC what you'd give probably a scorecard, end of year report 2021, how do you think it will fare by that point? With all that's going on.
Okay.
There are less exams. There's more time for a child to explore their talent with all that's
True,
going on.
but the assessment is teacher-based, to be honest. It's an ongoing assessment, which for me worries me because we are coming from a cheating culture. We have not removed the culture of cheating. So what's to stop an assessor from giving high marks simply because this is the school you're based at and you want it to look good, or this is your ethnicity or your board? I mean, what we have not been shown, what will stand against that kind of, it is based on integrity. And if there's a value that we know is lacking in Kenya, it is called integrity. So that for me was one of my main concerns. And then secondly, it's the rollout. I'm a teacher of secondary, not primary. We still don't know what's happening in secondary up until this point. We have no idea how it's going to work in secondary. And why don't we know? Because Kenya Curriculum Development doesn't seem to know yet, therefore has not filtered it down to us, who are the ones who are supposed to be the implementers. Those are my problems. But I think CBC as an idea is a very good idea on paper. But as Kenyans, we're very good on paper and very bad at implementation.
Okay. As we get into it, we're getting to the tail end of this. For you as a parent, as an educationist, what are the key things you're looking at this year from where you stand?
Survival?
Yes, okay. We all are just trying to survive.
To get through 2021. Yes.
But beyond that, in the education realm, what are some of the things you're really keen on seeing if they manage to tick the box or not?
Okay, I would like to see a lot of better infrastructural development because the time calls for it. We need to socially distance our children. My child is in a class of 50 and they're learning in a class of 50. So there's no social distancing happening there. So I'd like some infrastructural development. I keep wondering, how is it so hard? Get a container, build a class. That takes like 2 days. But again, implementation is a problem. Two, I would like to see a greater drive towards online because the way of the future, right? What I'm telling you now is a lot of parents who have the capacity or lack the funds are turning towards homeschooling. So that's going to be a drive now. I have
There's
about...
an increase in homeschooling?
There's an increase in homeschooling, no question. Driven by one, the idea of I don't want to get COVID, I don't want to die. Two, I don't have money. Honestly, homeschooling is cheaper as an option. You don't have to buy uniform, you don't have to, So there's a drive towards homeschooling. What I predict is there'll be a lot of dropouts this year. There already are, right? A lot of girls got pregnant. A lot of schools were literally closed. A lot of parents don't have money to take your kids back to school. And in Kenya, what happens when there's a crisis? It's like you operate in anarchy. The government never helps you out. I have to pay for sanitation in the school. I have to pay for my children's masks every day. I'm lucky enough that so far I can afford it. How many of us can say that in Kenya? So what does my crystal ball look like? Chaos and anarchy, Jeff. Honestly, I'm looking for a bright light, and the only bright light I can see is that Kenyan, we are a resilient lot. But a part of me wonders, how long can you be resilient until you break? We're going to be saved by the fact that you're a hustler nation, not by our government. Because so far, I was going to say I don't want to speak ill of the dead because then I just realized they're not dead. But they really haven't been there for us during this period. And that is the absolute truth. So it's on me and you, honestly.
It's a pretty grim picture you paint there. As we wind up, it's always been a story of resources to the education, from the education ministry, head teachers always complaining, not enough funds, teachers complaining, not enough money for them. Do you think that changes this year? They've put aside, I think 19 billion they put in place. Do you feel? Okay,
here's the thing about the 19 billion. A lot of it is just the normal money that students get anyway. That's why you have free education, right? So there's a certain number of money that the government gives per student, especially for basic education per student. That is part of the 19 million. So it's not like new money has come in and already we were complaining. Let me give you a good picture. There's a reason why we do not hear about, there are certain countries you never hear anything about. These tend to be Netherlands, Finland. Why? Because they got it right. The best education system in Kenya right now is the Finnish education system. And doesn't work the way ours work. The best paid professionals in Finland are teachers. They have to go through the strictest. That's the way it's supposed to be, because here's the truth. Education is a way of teaching us how to cope with life. But we are treating it like it's a luxury. It's not. It is a necessity. Look what happens when your education system fails. I point you to America and what is happening right now. That is not a failure of politics. That is a failure of education. The inability to see what is obvious, the inability to detect what is a lie and not, is a reflection of education system. Education system in Kenya is not as bad as that, because clearly when you leave our country, we shine as Kenyans. Mm-hmm. I used to teach in Sarai boys. A lot of them are in Harvard and they are getting their honor roll. Yeah? So education system is good. It's our government that is bad. It's a very clear problem because they're the ones who set the policies. Right. So what can you do better? Hey people, 2022, vote wisely. Vote for your kids' future. Vote for a person who has an education policy that actually could work, because that's our future.
Okay. I think we leave it at that as far as it's concerned. And then in December, we'll be back here and look at it.
I'll never go my way. You might have to work really hard to find me.
Thanks for your time, man.
Thank you, Jeff.
Okay, thanks
For visiting.